Greetings, sending you all some positive vibrations. So, I wanted to share what I think could be a very valuable resource, and it is a channel on YouTube. The name of the channel is Empowered Esquire TV. Again, that's Empowered Esquire, as in lawyer, Esquire TV as a YouTube channel. So, it is great. The focus on that channel is, as I say, life lessons through a legal lens. Now, there's a reason why I think this is very important in this climate of cults, and that is manipulators and cult leaders. They're very aware and they target specific populations. They target populations that are not going to fact check, that are going to quickly go with words and not run through a vetting process. A vetting process I've discussed on this channel. And this is an important distinction. So they know that the population that they go to basically will be those folks that just go on someone's word, or that they're enamored by gift of gab. And they're going to feel a quick sense of bonding and loyalty in the absence, without going through a thorough vetting process. And a vetting process is your fact checking, asking questions, cross referencing, background checks, criminal records. You know, most people are not going to do that. And that's something I invite us to take a look at. I am by no means here to tell grown folks what to do, but I am putting this information out there because this is tangible information, whereas it seems that we are very caught up in looping astrology and philosophy, and none of it is grounded in anything. That information has a place, but it appears we've lost our practicality. And without practicality, you're not able to get tangible results, and you will likely put yourself in harm's way. So, I looked at some of the videos on his channel. Again, it's Empowered Esquire TV. And here are some distinctions that these cult leaders, that they know culturally that we are likely that we just won't go through the vetting process. So it's not likely that we will ask for receipts. It's not likely that we will read the ingredients, whether that is food or whether that is people, track record, and history. Once we're bonded to someone, or someone has triggered us with language or finds a common ground, we grew up in the same neighborhood, we speak the same language, oh, I know your mother, went to the same high school. Once culturally we have a so-called familiarity, a sense of familiarity, then that will be the pass, and we will allow entrance into our psyches, our underwear, our pocketbook, right? We'll become endeared to someone and skip over and give pass to a vetting process, which has proven itself to be very dangerous. So these predators and cult folks and manipulators, they know that we won't read, that we won't vet. Many of us are too uncomfortable to ask uncomfortable questions that make a big, big difference, so that we have a chance to start to gauge the person, not just hear what we want to hear, but until we've questioned folks or find out who they are in a challenging situation, or when you tell people no, or when you establish what your boundaries are, or when you establish your personal process, that's usually when you'll see the beginnings of who these people really are. So we're usually very highly emotional. We're usually very easily triggered if someone disagrees with us. If you don't like the tempo of their voice, quickly we'll lose our discernment and we'll forget the questions that we, should be asking. We're very easily distracted. And here's I think it could be a very valuable, huge distinction, right? And this is something that's very cultural. We likely will not ask for a tangible return on our investments. Now, this is important because we have a history of allowing, we know there's a lot of fiat currency, greenbacks come through our hands as a collective and even individually during the course of the year. We have a tremendous amount of spending power. Males and females, if you just look culturally, we're very stylish. We spend a lot on our hair. We spend a lot on our clothes. Even if we're buying cheaper, we buy more in volume. So we help to drive, the economy. So as folks, usually we are kind of late to the table when it comes to investing or certain know-how or savvy. However, we do have money passing through our hands. So a big distinction, we will give, but we won't ask for an investment. We'll donate, but we won't ask for a return on our investment. We don't require a return for our investment. And this is a mindset. This is a mentality. This can be seen even in the so-called voting process, right? If someone gives us a speech and we like their outfit and we like their swag and we like the way their wife or their partner looks, we forget what our tangible agenda is when it pertains to resources, when it comes to getting laws protected that have a tangible result in terms of making sure that we are physically protected. All of that goes out of the window when we get riled up in conversations and we're triggered and we're making a common so-called superficial bond with people. We'll forget, what our whole focus is. So it's interesting culturally, other groups who are more stable as a collective economically, they require and they have consequences in place. They ask for receipts. They ask for audits. When they give donations to companies or individuals, they expect and they ask for something back. And I think it's very interesting. We have a history, our ancestors, of being enslaved peoples, and that has come with a whole lot of trauma and residue and thinking processes that we have not resolved, right? There's trauma on so many levels. But interesting, if we just look at, objectively, other groups, they ask for things, they require audits, they ask to see books, they ask to see financial reports. But it's very interesting as a people that, we would benefit from reparations, right, for what we've gone through. I don't even know if there's enough reparations, but we don't require paperwork. We don't require receipts. And quite often we go on a handshake or we go on a feeling or we go on an assumption. And it really holds us back as a collective and as an individual. We stay looping economically. We stay struggling. And these are some of the things that make us vulnerable to these cults. The cults quite often will ask you for a handshake or to do something in good faith, but when they're dealing with the system or the man, they're dealing with legal matters. They'll know to protect themselves. They're very savvy. So they will go to populations where they know you will not read and that you won't really place your well-being at a premium and require a vetting process. It could even be seen that when folks ask for testing or ask for paperwork or requirements, folks will usually get very upset. That's a red flag. That is a glaring red flag. That says do not pass go if you're not comfortable. And we've been trained to be very comfortable in ignoring, our intuition, to blatantly ignore, all the signals or the information, intelligence trying to come to the surface and get our attention before we make an investment of a lot of years of our womb or our reproductive organs, before you've bonded into a cult or into a family, before you've let go of relationships and opportunities, and you've given away your car and your house and your, all these different things. Before you make some legal changes to your name and your children's name, we don't go through the vetting process. So cults and manipulators and con men, they go to people who they know are gullible, and this is not meant to be insulting, but they go to people they know who think more with their heart and with our emotions, and we will suspend common sense. No other group of people does that. And we're looking for these big far out things and marching, and we're not realizing that we're not enacting, a vetting process. So one of the resources I just got from watching this channel, Esquire TV, she made reference in one of the videos, you can see them on her channel, to, I think it's called PACE, public access to something to court records. I forget what the E is for. So it's public access to court records. So someone that, just as one of many of several resources that we should be enacting. If there's someone that you're thinking of dating or even giving money to, you might want to put their name in Pacer and see if court cases come up. And if court cases come up If videos come up, and if you haven't taken the time, you skip over it, you've suspended, your way of checking who a person is. Why would you ignore consistent behavior over the years and only go for somebody's gift of gab? That is very, very dangerous. And the children are watching us model this behavior. So it's how a lot of predators get through the door. And sometimes it's women and mothers. We're opening the door, because we want to people please or we want to be liked. We're opening the door to these things. So these folks know that you're not going to go through the vetting process. But the PACER is just one example of the resources. It's she has a really, really good channel where she talks about legal advice. So again, it's life lessons through a legal lens, which I think is so helpful for us to become more objective, because we're spending so much time on social media, and I don't know that we're getting anything back for it. So what was it? I had written down some notes. Church, insurance, and documents. We don't ask for documentation. We don't ask for insurance for our well-being, for our children's well-being, or even before, for women to think of, before you engage and you're about to put your life on the line and potential future generations and subject yourself to tremendous amounts of stress and potentially risk the health of your womb. And a lot of these diseases can lead to cancer. So if anyone is encouraging you or trying to entice you to make a quick decision with your reproductive organs, that is a glaring red flag. It's a glaring red flag. And after you've placed yourself in harm's way, some of this stuff you can't pull in. And at the same time, we're teaching the younger generation by what they're watching us model. So, it's high time that we ask for a vetting process, that you ask questions, thorough questions. You ask questions that can keep you safe, that can keep you informed, so that you're not only going by the person's words, but you're able to gauge their actions before and after interactions during the questioning period. You're also on, be unapologetic by looking things up so you can see and have some kind of idea for who it is that you're dealing with. Again, this is so that you can keep yourself safe, because consequences matter. Legal consequences, financial and physical consequences. This is what people understand, right? It's consequences. When you're hitting somebody in the pocket and you're watching your own pockets, and also valuing your energy. It's interesting. A lot of these cult leaders will be very savvy and manipulative when it comes to money, but they're constantly, as is a pattern, twisting the context. Many of the people that they insult in so-called Babylon are the very ones whose money that they're living off of. A lot of the things that they insult, they participate in. And a lot of it you can't even see, trust me, behind closed doors, whether it has red, black, and green locks, raw foods on it. We would do better to really take our time and take a lot of those hard-earned resources. You can take a lot of these resources that you're squandering and send it off to people who are pretty much set. But because we have an emotional need to please or to be a part of something, or we're in love with a concept, these are resources you could be using to start your own garden, secure yourself, pay for self-defense, pay for travel, invest in your years, your mature years. So how are we investing in other people before we have invested in ourselves? This is a mentality. And these are red flags. Again, these manipulators go to populations where they know you're not going to check. They know it's almost equivalent to not being able to read energy. And particularly if you don't have a frame of reference, it's easy money. It's easy access. So again, that resource is Empowered Esquire TV. I found some very useful information. So I invite you to educate yourself and strive to make a positive use of the internet. If you find some value here, you're welcome to share it with a young person or a family that may have family members or young adult family members that are in cults, or if you're wanting to know, like, how do these cults work, I invite you to invest some time to get educated and educate the people around you, because this is This is a phenomenon and a happening that's not going anywhere. It's not limited to the Afro community. You've got in India, you've got in Asian countries. It's a whole mentality of control that is very real. It is not conspiracy theory, and many people are participating in it without even realizing it. All right, y'all, keep your thinking caps on.